What's going on, y'all? Happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Lukman Nation. This is the Black uh, Workers Bulletin, Black Labor Bulletin in Lukman Nation. I'm a little bit confused today because there's something weird happened with my guests. I haven't heard from them. So I'm not sure if I'm going to have guests tonight, but that's okay. We're still going to talk about Black labor. And if you notice, my background is a little different because I am not at home. I am in Ocean City, Maryland at the beach for some badly needed mental health time. So bear with me for whatever internet whatever is going on. You know how hotel wi-fi can be real iffy, but here we are, another Friday in Lukman Nation, the Black Labor Bulletin. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you're watching on Black Power Media, you're watching on the most dangerous platform on social media. That's Black Power Media, and you're watching the most dangerous show. That's Lukman Nation on Black Power Media. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Gaspar, MDN, Pamela Jones, Yipper99, The Jamon 93, Lisa Catlett, Manny Nile, Big Teal, Ariana Gladney, Nicholas Plank. Thank you so much, you all, for joining. Like I said, I was supposed to have a guest tonight, and then there was a little bit of confusion with the coordinators of the guests. So then I had two guests, and I haven't heard from either one of them. So we may not have a guest, we may, but we're going to talk about this Maximus worker strike anyway because it's very important. Thanks, y'all, for who have joined a few minutes ago. Kai and Warren Register and Marley Gordon and CB. And because I don't seem to have a guest, Pamela Jones, what's going on? Because I don't have a guest, this show will be short, so you can hop on over to Kim Brown on time tonight, I think. So, listen, what's going on in the world of Black labor that we need to be concerned about that could impact everyone who is enrolled in Medicare very soon? And I'm going to share this video. I hope I can pull it up for you. Again, hotel Wi-Fi being what it is, I hope you can get it. All right, now get off all of my notifications. How about that? Yeah, let's do it that way. So those are workers of the Maximus call center. And I think that location is in uh, Bogalusa, Mississippi. And what is going on with these workers is that they have been fighting the company they work for, Maximus, at least since last year when I believe I first had them on the show. Um, and I talked to one Maximus worker. She was fantastic. And like I said, I don't know what happened to my guests tonight, but I'm going to tell their story anyway because you need to know all about it. So, Maximus is the company that has the contract for Medicare and Medicaid services, for the Center of Medicaid Services, the federal agency that oversees Medicare. So the Maximus workers, call center workers, have been demanding better pay, and they get paid so little money that they can barely afford health insurance themselves. Imagine that, y'all. People who answer the phones and help people all across this country sign up for and manage their Medicare coverage themselves cannot afford health insurance. All right. So, this fight between the Maximus call center workers, and if you or anybody in your family, anybody you know, ever calls into that 1-800 CMS number for Medicare, the person who picks up is a Maximus employee. Maximus is the company that owns the contract for the Center for Medicare Services. So this is the fight that's been going on with Maximus employees and their company for at least a year. And this is some recent news coverage about the fight that Maximus workers are engaged in. And this is a story from just yesterday. Out of This is Channel 7. I believe this is in Mississippi somewhere. This is a local Channel 7 Mississippi affiliate. So let's see what they have to say.
There are currently more than 650,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs in the U.S. The Google Cybersecurity Certificate was made to fill that gap and help grow the workforce that's keeping us all safe.
Some employees of the Maximus Federal Call Center in Hattiesburg are once again demanding higher pay and the right to form a union. They say if they don't get what they want, they'll walk off the job during the busiest time of the year for that company. Charles Harrington has that story.
We are the union. We are the union. The mighty, mighty union. The mighty, mighty union.
Members of the Communication Workers of America hosted this news conference in front of the Maximus Federal Call Center at noon today. They were there to support workers who are demanding higher pay and the right to form a union.
Oh, sorry, internet issues.
A union.
There we go. All righty.
Cyber attacks on public infrastructure threaten the institutions we all rely on. When these organizations run on Google Cloud, they're defended by the same AI-powered security that protects all of Google.
And I got a little story about Google too later on.
I'm Michaela Chavez, and I'm here with Marmalade the tortoise.
No, we don't want to hear about Marmalade the tortoise.
Some employees of the Maximus Federal Call Center in Hattiesburg are once again demanding higher pay and the right to form a union. They say if they don't get what they want, they'll walk off the job during the busiest time of the year for that company. Charles Harrington has that story.
We are the union. We are the union. The mighty, mighty union. The mighty, mighty union.
Members of the Communication Workers of America hosted this news conference in front of the Maximus Federal Call Center at noon today. They were there to support workers who are demanding higher pay and the right to form a union. This center handles calls for the Affordable Care Act and Medicare.
We do essential work for the federal government and help many millions of Americans access health coverage. We should not be stuck in poverty, struggling just as lives.
Preston and other workers who spoke today are demanding wages of $25 an hour. They also want to be part of the Communication Workers of America. CWA President Claude Cummings spoke at the event.
How has Maximus responded to workers organizing their union? By trying to silence you, to deny you a real seat at the table.
Preston and other workers are threatening to strike during the upcoming open enrollment period if their demands are not met.
We are ready to strike, because when we move, they move, just like that.
We reached out to Maximus for comment. The company says starting pay for their call center employees is more than $16 an hour. It also says the CWA has been trying unsuccessfully for years to unionize company employees. It says employees have displayed almost universal disinterest in organizing. The company also says there is a well-established legal process which can be used by employees to form a union. And it says Maximus is well aware of and complies with the law regarding union organizing. Preston and other employees at this event say they're confident most company employees do support forming a union.
Most people are undecided, yes, that 10% are undecided, but that doesn't mean they don't want to unionize. That just means they need more information to make a decision on what they want to do, not what Maximus wants them to do.
Also supporting Preston and other workers today were Congressman Benny Thompson and National NAACP President Derek Johnson. Charles Harrington, WDAM7 on your side.
Yeah, we don't care what Maximus has to say because they're a typical bunch of capitalist corporate lying, exploitative corporate bosses. That this whole thing where they brag, the starting pay is $16 an hour. $16 an hour are poverty wages. Did you understand? $16 an hour, even down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. That ain't a lot of money. You still need another job in order to pay rent and buy food and put clothes on your behind. The cost of living down in Hattiesburg is not so much lower that $16 an hour is going to pay for rent on a decent place to live for you and your family. They're clowning, and they've been clowning. Maximus has been clowning for years, and I love what the CWA, the Communications Workers of America, lady said. She said that, the 10%, which is the threshold that you need to form a union, to get, the 10% of the union cards of all the employees of a facility, I believe. She said, yeah, it's true. 10% of the employees are undecided, but that doesn't mean they don't want a union. That means they need more information. And I love that because you know what that is? You know what she's talking about? She's talking about more organizing among the workers, which I am sure Maximus is still doing, is still thwarting, like they had been last year when I talked to a Maximus worker who told us that the company would threaten people. She told a story about a call center worker who had cancer. And after she used up all of her leave for her treatment, they fired her. How is that not worker intimidation? When you know that you're going to get fired for using your leave, but to take care of a life-threatening illness. So Maximus, the call center that is responsible for handling all of the calls in this country for open enrollment for the Affordable Care Act and for Medicare, they won't even pay the people who are taking the calls to help you sign up for health insurance. They won't pay them enough so they can take care of themselves and afford health insurance themselves. And you know doggone well, Maximus is union busting just like every other company in this country is. This foolishness that Maximus says in their statement, there are legal processes by which the employees can pursue to form a union. They've been trying to form a union for more than a year. Why hasn't it happened? It's not for lack of trying. It's not it's not really because of employee disinterest. It is because of employer intimidation and interference. And y'all, we're talking about the Deep South here. We are talking about a part of the country that still has a very tangible and entrenched and very active and very in your face system and expression of anti-Blackness and white supremacy. Don't get it twisted. They hate working class and poor white folks too. Those working class and poor white people who are in these call centers, they're in the same boat. But according to the lady I spoke to last year, they reserved the extra special intimidation for the Black employees who are paid less, who are in a more financially precarious situation, and who are subjected to even more intimidation than the working class and poor white employees are. So you got all this going on in this company that has most of its call centers in the South, where they don't have to pay people decent wages because these and they don't have to allow unions. Why? Because most southern states and a few northern states also, and West Coast states, but most southern states are right to work states. So this idea that Maximus is somehow adhering to any legal processes that allow their employees to form a union, please. They know very well that they are acting within the right to work laws of their state to union bust if they want to not to do everything they can in their power to not allow employees to unionize. So that's what's going on with Maximus. And thanks, Chitimacha 1025. With $16 an hour is $2,773 before taxes. Before taxes. Who gonna live off that? How you gonna live off that? So this is why come open enrollment period, when you call the call center to sign up for or to certify for the ACA or for Medicare, there may not be anybody answering the phone. And this is why it is so important to be in solidarity with workers for workers' rights and for workers fighting for decent pay and decent benefits across the board. I don't care if workers are flipping burgers. I think I told you all the story of when I went to get my last surgery for my fistula here. This is where I do, and I might as well show it to you. This is the fistula. This is where I do dialysis. I stick needles into, this is a vein in my arm, and this is where I stick the needles into this vein and access my blood and clean my blood. So the last surgery to fix this, so it could finally be operational, the surgical technicians, my what's his name, my vascular surgeon who did the surgery, he liked to tell everybody what I do for a living, because when I told him that I'm a radio show host, he just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And he, like, what do you talk about? What is, I told him what we talk about. Well, first of all, the host of the show and I are we're socialists. We believe in communism. So we talk about organizing. We are Black radicals. We talk about Black radical organizing. We're internationalists. We're Pan-Africanists. We talk about international organizing, and we talk about worker organizing. And we just had this long conversation about this. So every time I go into a surgery with him and he has somebody new on his team, he always tells these people what I do and he always says, she's famous. You should talk to her. So this last time I go to the vascular surgeon and he tells them the whole thing. She's famous. She's on the radio, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, can you just fix this thing so I can just get this done with? And so the surgical techs start asking me questions like, oh, word, you're on the radio? What station? Blah, blah, blah. So I tell them, and of course, that I get to Sputnik radio, and that they're Sputnik, and these are Black folks, okay? They're like, Sputnik, that sounds Russian? Is that Russian? I'm like, yeah, it's Russian radio, and I go into the whole thing. My host, the host of the show, and I have complete editorial control over what we talk about. Nobody from Moscow or even the editor-in-chief in the office tells us what we can and cannot say. Never have, never will. So then they asked me about, what I thought about, the strikes, and this was before the UPS thing really kicked off, and before it got closer to the strike deadline. And I told them what I believe, that every UPS worker, from the warehouse to the drivers, regardless of when they started or how long they worked, they deserve decent pay and decent benefits. They deserve everything they're asking for, because UPS makes enough money that they could give those people everything they ask for and not lose a dime. So then one of the surgical technicians, bless her heart, said, well, I sort of agree with you. And it was like 3 or 4 surgical technicians standing around the little desk. They're supposed to be checking me in so I could get the surgery done, but we're having this great conversation. And so one of the surgical technicians says, well, I guess I kind of agree, but I don't think I agree when it comes to some employees. And and I can't control my face. I really can't control my face when I'm talking to people. It just does things that I don't. So obviously the look I gave her was like, the fuck are you talking about? But I didn't say anything. So she looked at me, she's like, but I'm gonna keep it to myself because I can see you don't agree. And I'm like, no, please go ahead and say what you have to say, because we may not agree, but we can have a conversation. Despite what people think, I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with me. I just like respectful, principled discourse. I don't like personal attacks and hyperbole and straw men and all this kind of foolishness and name calling. But I don't mind disagreement. We can have a discussion over over ideas that we don't agree on. So we did. And she said, I don't agree that people who are like flipping burgers should be paid $15 an hour, because it doesn't take a lot of skill to do that. So why should they get paid $15, $16 an hour? And I wasn't the only one who had a little attitude about what she said. The other surgical techs were looking at her like, huh? What? But, I took a deep breath and I said, because your job requires a certain level of technical expertise and a specific kind of training and education, and I'm sure you have to get certified in order to be a surgical tech. I hope that you do, because I don't want you doing anything with me and cutting on me and poking me and whatnot, and you're not certified. I understand that you would have feelings about people who are doing quote unquote unskilled labor getting paid $15, $16 an hour. I said, but here's the thing. Everybody who works a job, and I don't care what that job is. I don't care what that job entails. I don't care whether that job requires training or not. And by the way, there's really no such thing as unskilled labor. All jobs require a level of skill, coordination, and knowledge, every single one of them. So there's no such thing as unskilled labor, but everybody who works a job deserves to be able to support themselves on that one job with that one salary. Nobody who works a job, especially not in the richest country this planet has probably ever seen, nobody in this country who works a job should have to work another job in order to be able to afford rent, health care, food, and clothing, and a little bit of leisure. Nobody should have to work themselves to death by working 2 or 3 jobs in order to merely survive in this country. That is why I organize and believe and talk about organizing and labor and workers' rights the way I do, because I don't care what your job is, you should be paid enough money so that you can afford to keep a roof over your head, that you can afford to keep food in your refrigerator, to keep clothes on your back, in this country and have a little bit left over for a little bit of leisure, because workers are human beings and we are the ones, it is our labor that makes the profits for the companies. So if we can't share in those profits by being given a living wage for our labor, then we need to have a little conversation with the ownership of these companies, and that conversation needs to be a strike. And everybody else, all the other, three or four other surgical techs, they were like, exactly, that's what's up, right? And even one of them was like, and you know what? We should be paid more. And I'm not mad at that. They probably should be. But this is why we need to be in solidarity with worker struggles across the board, across industries, regardless of what kind of work they do, because what we're talking about here is the dignity of human beings in the workplace. That's what we're talking about. We're not with this, all these bourgeois conversations about classifying workers as skilled or unskilled, white collar or blue collar. That's all bourgeois capitalist divide and conquer bullshit that we need to get away from. Unless if you are not a manager or a CEO or on the board of directors, baby, you are a worker. You are a worker and you deserve to reap the benefits of the fruits of your labor. And they all should not go. The fruits of your labor should not all go to the CEOs of the corporations, the investors of the companies, the boards of directors of the corporations. No, the workers who produce those profits should reap the most benefits from their labor. And if they don't get it, they absolutely should strike. So I am suspecting that there will be a Maximus strike, because clearly the company has not been responsive to the Maximus workers. So it's looking very much like a strike is going to happen. I don't see Maximus moving. Okay. Yeah, that was the person who was supposed to be the guest. Okay. Well, anyway, hopefully we can have them on at another time. I'm going to certainly try to, but I don't see Maximus moving. I don't see them uh um uh changing. I don't see them pivoting from their official statements that they're doing everything right, that they're, respecting their employees or all this kind of, but no, they're not. And they're going to continue not to until they are made to with a strike, which I think is going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on there. So the little thing about Google that I saw today that I wanted to hit on real quick, which I thought was fascinating. Let's see, news. Here we go. Let me share this. So for the people who, real quick. So I know people want to talk about the Jimmy Dore, Dr. Cornel West interview, and okay, since I don't watch Jimmy Dore and I literally do not care about Jimmy Dore, I just don't, I have gotten to the point it starts to buck. Go, okay, we're back. So yeah, I don't care. I don't. The only reason I had anything to say about this is because I don't want to. I don't want us to fall into the Bernie Sanders cult trap, the third party cult. I think people in Bernie Sanders. I don't think it is healthy. Political figures or figures when their analysis is incorrect. We do it in a principled way. We don't attack people. Or some people love to attack folks, but I don't. And I don't agree with some things that Dr. West said, but I'm not going to attack him because he said something that hopefully I'm going to get a conversation with him about it. But I did do a monologue today on By Any Means Necessary about it, and I'm going to try to download it and provide the audio of it for you, so you can hear what I have to say about the conversation. But I do not agree with Dr. West and his kind of refusal to call Joe Biden a fascist, and I do not agree with Dr. West about that because of what Jackson history shows. Country built fascism. Fascism is a cornerstone of this country. A president that has been the manager, steward, shopkeeper, overseer of this country and its system, every president is a fascist. Trump was not a special fascist. He didn't introduce fascism to America. He wasn't bringing fascism to America. Fascism wasn't rising in because Trump became president and he gave birth to the MAGA movement, which he actually didn't give birth to the MAGA movement. That was Ronald Reagan. Trump ain't done original, just like the devil. He ain't done nothing original. But fascism didn't rid America because of fascism is an aspect of Americanism baked into the foundation of this country. And George Jackson told us that. If you pay any attention, I'm sorry, what is slavery if that ain't fascism? What slavery? What was segregation? What was mass incarceration? What is the current prison industrial complex if it's not fascism? How in the world can you look at the prison system in this country and how it has evolved and metastasized off of the enslavement of particularly, and it is targeted. The legal system, the law enforcement system, the carceral system in this country is targeted particularly at working class and poor people, and working class and poor European descended people in particular. They'll catch some working class and poor white folks up in there, absolutely. But how do you look at the very long history of white supremacy and white supremacist legislation in this country and the anti-worker sentiment that has gone right side by side along with it in this country, and not see that the oppression of a certain class of people and particular groups of people within that class of people is driven by monopoly capitalism? That's fascism, y'all. You look at the RICO indictments of 61 Stop Cop City protesters. That is fascism. Protest. As the 1988 Smith Act, as the attack with McCarthyism, right? This is nothing new. So and that, if you understand that the Nazis, the real fascists that we all, because when we think of fascists in this country, we think that in Germany, and I'm funky, but hopefully it'll be better on replay. Sorry, but you know, when we think of the real fascists, if we understand that the Nazis that the United States carried out against the indigenous people, if you know that the Nazis were fascists, then how is it that the people that inspired them are fascists? That makes no sense. You know, that makes no sense. So I agree with Dr. West. That goes down some of these. In not calling Joe Biden that every U.S. president is continues to control the government, and you, the government and law enforcement, the legal system, to workers and the working class, criminalize and repress Black and non-European descent All right. I'm back, I think. I think. Clearly a little late, so people are coming in, and more people are coming in to the building, and coming in from the beach and whatnot, so the Wi-Fi is obviously going to get worse. So I'm going to wrap this up. So anyway, as I was saying, and thank you so much, y'all, for on reels, just a mess. But anyway, so I was saying, if you know that the Nazis are the real fascists and they were inspired by the United States genocidal policy toward the indigenous in this country, how do you not think the United States is inspired the real Nazis? Of course, this country is fascist. So I absolutely disagree. Joe Biden is not doesn't that thinking does not get us to the root of why we need to destroy this entire system. We don't just need a better manager of a fascistic system. We don't just need a third party manager of a fascist system. A new system. And I think it is not only do I think it's okay, we need to disagree with even our figures, public figures who are not clear on that, because we don't get to revolution, we don't get to socialism without understanding what this system really is, y'all. So I'm gonna try to grab today about this for sometime by Monday, about Jimmy Dore, about things and about white supremacy is a problem, or we can't racism isn't as is good. Now, these are some pretty well paid folks. We're not talking about working class or probably poor. You're working for class is not inextricably tied to class struggle. If white supremacy is not a problem, how come Google is paying their Black employees less? Leaked Google data reveals salary difference between races, not between classes, but between races. There's a significant pay difference between Black and white staff. This is from, let me video off and just wrap up with audio because, yeah, the bandwidth is really bad here. So let me know if you can hear me. Nope. All right, cool. So okay, so let me the Google reveals significant pay with Black employees earning an of $20,000 less than their white colleagues. Additionally, women paid less across departments within the company. Data shows that longer tenured employees hold